Hey film fans, welcome to Cinepro, your ultimate hub for all movie recaps, from heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters. Our movie today begins with Tony and his wife Lily. We learn that he and Lily are separated and have a young son. Each of them takes care of their son when the other is busy with work. Tony enjoys spending time with his son watching motorcycle races, which is his favorite hobby. Every night after his son falls asleep, Tony goes to his workshop to work on improving his motorcycle. In the morning, before going to work, he drops his son off at Lily's place. Tony works in a warehouse and is also a racer. For every race, he focuses, prepares, and trains hard to be ready. Before the race starts, his mind is solely on the race and his motorcycle. The race begins, and Tony overtakes all his competitors. At that moment, he focuses only on the road ahead. We see Tony racing with full concentration, managing to get ahead and nearing victory. However, suddenly, his motorcycle's engine breaks down and he can't finish the race. He loses and sits alone until a man named Duke Cady approaches him. Duke is impressed by Tony's racing skills and offers him a spot on his team. Tony recognizes this as a huge opportunity and agrees. He learns that the team participates in superbike races and starts training with the new team. He gains confidence in himself and his abilities. During training, Tony outperforms all his teammates, which pleases the team leader. The next day, Tony meets Lily to tell her that the area she lives in has come under the control of Musa's gang. We learn that Tony and Musa used to be close friends, like brothers. But Tony chose a different path in life, away from Musa and his gang. Tony visits Lily's apartment, but on his way up the stairs, he notices some thugs who have damaged the stairs, the door, and the apartment itself. It turns out that Lily was involved in smuggling goods, and her new partner stole the goods and fled. Her boss wants his goods back, so he sent the thugs to search her apartment. They give her 1 week to either return the goods or pay for them. Tony takes Lily and their son to stay with him for a while until she can sort things out. The next morning, Tony goes to get his motorcycle but encounters Musa, who assures him that the bike is safe and under his protection. Tony tells Musa about Lily's problem and that he wants to find the man responsible. Musa warns him not to get involved with this man, as he won't leave him alone. In the end, Musa decides to help Tony rescue Lily from the situation. Musa reveals that the man's name is Jardan, and he works for someone named Miguel at a cafe. Tony goes to the cafe to meet him. When Jardan arrives, he tells Tony that Lily has 1 week to either return the goods or pay for them. Tony leaves the cafe unsure of what to do. Outside, Miguel notices Tony's motorcycle and realizes Tony is a racer. Miguel offers Tony a job to pay off Lily's debt. At first, Tony refuses, saying it would interfere with his racing career. Miguel warns him that Lily and his son's lives are at risk. He assures Tony that no one will know if he agrees to work for him. Reluctantly, Tony agrees and goes with Jardan to see the motorcycle. A masked man gives Tony a bag and an address, instructing him to deliver it. Tony speeds off on his motorcycle. Along the way, he stops to refuel, where a group waits to ensure he doesn't escape with the goods. Tony continues his journey, focusing on the road, but police cars suddenly start chasing him. He accelerates to escape, taking another route and narrowly avoiding an accident. Using his racing skills, he manages to evade the police and delivers the bag to Jardan and Miguel. Tony asks Miguel how long he has to work for them. Miguel tells him it will take 2 months to pay off Lily's debt. He gives Tony a phone for important calls only. Tony returns home exhausted. The next morning, he's late for work at the warehouse. After finishing his job, he goes to train with his team to maintain his performance, as there are many competitors. On his way home, he meets Miguel and Jardan, who scold him for not answering their calls. They take him for another mission. During this mission, traffic police spot Tony and chase him on motorcycles. He speeds away and stops to refuel, but the officers catch up. Tony escapes again by taking a different route. Miguel offers Tony energy pills to keep him going. Reluctantly, Tony takes them due to his fatigue. Tony embarks on another mission, switching to a backup motorcycle midway. By the end of the day, he is utterly exhausted and loses focus due to his nonstop work. Despite this, he perseveres to pay off Lily's debt. Tony continues taking the pills to maintain his energy. The next day, the team leader notices Tony's fatigue, but Tony tries to hide it. Later, Miguel calls Tony for a meeting, informing him of changes in their operations due to police closing the borders because of protests. And he tells him that he is not ready to stop his work and asks him again for a motorcycle so he can continue his job. However, Miguel is afraid for him, fearing he might get arrested or even killed. Meanwhile, Tony continues to follow up all day and goes to meet him, worried that he might get himself into bigger trouble with Miguel and Jordan. Tony tells him that he knows exactly what he's doing and is ready for whatever might happen. At night, they go to meet the goods dealer, Fred, and we learn that Fred is not an easy person at all, and Miguel knows this. Tony takes his motorcycle and leaves, but unfortunately, the police block the road. He decides to take another route, passing through protesters and climbing stairs, thinking it would be safe. However, others appear and start shooting at him. He escapes again, and Miguel learns what happened. Then Jordan comes and takes him. The next day, Miguel finds out that Fred was the one behind it, so Miguel decides to destroy the car and get rid of any evidence. Tony is very exhausted, and the next day he notices a nosebleed. However, he has no other choice and must go to the race. At that moment, he loses his balance and falls off the motorcycle, thinking that his dream of becoming a professional racer is over. That night, he meets Miguel again and ends the agreement between them. Miguel asks him to continue working with him, but Tony refuses and leaves. Tony had already given up a lot and even took the wrong path to save Lily. Later that night, Tony goes to meet Jordan, hands over the work, and leaves. Jordan tells him to be ready for tomorrow, but Tony refuses, saying his work with Miguel is over. Jordan threatens to kill Lily, but Tony beats him up. Tony then calls Musa and asks him to help him. Tony realizes that Miguel won't leave him alone, so he devises a plan. He asks Musa to leak the secret information he has and gather all of Miguel's documents. The next day, Miguel goes to Tony and tells him that Jordan has disappeared. Tony says he doesn't know anything about it. Tony goes with Miguel and gets into the car. At that moment, Musa is watching them but can't reach them because Miguel escapes with the car. Miguel takes Tony to the warehouse where the goods are stored and transfers them to the car. At that moment, Tony sends a message to Musa, informing him of his location. Miguel's men then start looking for Musa. Miguel realizes that Tony is playing him. Musa calls Tony and warns him that his life is in danger, urging him to leave the place immediately. Tony takes his motorcycle and tries to escape, but unfortunately, a car with Miguel's men is waiting for him, blocking his way. They take him in the car. Tony feels helpless, thinking his life is over. At that moment, Musa and his men arrive, shooting at the car and killing Miguel and his men. Musa saves Tony, who finally feels safe and relieved that Miguel and his men are gone. However, Tony's dream of becoming a famous racer has ended. Life doesn't stop there for him, though. He thinks about his family and realizes he needs to work for them. That night, we see Tony still thinking about motorcycle racing, but this time not with racers, this time with police officers. And here, the events of our movie today come to an end. Stay tuned for new videos. Goodbye.